Hello and welcome into the latest edition of the Fore-All podcast. I'm Jesse Morrison alongside Max Bechtoldt. And Max, it's here. Solheim Cup week starts on Friday in Virginia at the Robert Trent Jones Golf Club. Just overall excitement, thoughts, uh, the course. Just let's start there with today.
Yeah, it was great. I got like kind of the first taste of it with press conferences today. The first press conferences started, so I had a few of those, and it's great. The excitement for the week is great. I got some good vibes from both teams. I think both teams are feeling good and feeling kind of together and are having fun. Obviously, I know the United States team kind of took a little mini tour of Washington D.C. yesterday, which I think is cool. I know they went to the Pentagon. They got to meet Barack Obama. So I think that's all cool. And it's interesting when we talk about location. Paula Creamer of the United States, one of the assistant captains, kind of spoke about kind of the motivation that this team is getting playing in the nation's capital on the week of the anniversary of 9/11, and how they kind of do feel some pressure to kind of defend their turf and kind of defend the city. And so I think that like adds an extra little interesting layer. Everything that the players are talking about with the course sounds great. They keep on talking about how it's in great condition, how the locker rooms are great, team rooms are great, and so I think we're off to a good start this week, and I'll be interested to see where it goes from here.
And do you expect, a good turnout for this event?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely do. I forgot who said it that it was one of the European captains was talking about how they just saw the numbers for the estimated people who are supposed to be there this weekend. It was just mind blowing to them. They'd never seen anything really like it. And so I think we can expect some of the biggest crowds, if not the biggest crowds we've ever seen in the Solheim Cup.
and do you think that'll aid the United States, just given the fact that it's on their home turf? I mean, it is golf. It's quiet while they play, but still,
It's
I mean, clearly the cheers will be louder for them when they do well.
I think it's more of an advantage to the United States than it is to a disadvantage for the Europeans, if that makes sense. The United States have a very young team, a very inexperienced team relatively, who I think will get a boost from these fans, and more importantly, won't have the opposing fans against them. But this European team, I'm not worried about them either because they've got so much experience. They've almost got double the Solheim Cup experience of the United States team. They'll be just fine. A lot of these players have played visiting Solheim Cup matches. They know what they're in for. They know what's in store. So I do think it helps the United States, but I don't think it hurts the Europeans.
All right, let's get into the United States. Last week, if you want to go back, check out our podcast from last week where we were talking about the European team. We went through all the players on the European team. The United States here, Max. Again, they're trying to defend their home turf. They got a couple new players: Lauren Coughlin, Sarah Schmelzel. Allison Lee is coming back to the team for the first time in 9 years. Just overall thoughts on the United States team and how they will factor in this.
I think these new players are really bringing good new life into it. I think they bring a lot of good vibes. I know Sarah Schmelzel just on social media. She's kind of been the social media star of the week so far, where she's just been so excited. She's really relishing it. There's definitely a chance this is the only Solheim Cup she'll ever play in. She's 30 years old, has always kind of been a little bit of a journeywoman on the LPGA tour. So you can really tell she's relishing this. I do think that will bring some of those feelings back, and some of the players that are more used to playing in the Solheim Cup is seeing someone who's so excited to be there. So I think that's great. Lauren Coughlin, I mean, we've talked about Lauren Coughlin. It seems like more than anyone else on this podcast almost, because she's just been so electric as of late. I think she makes this United States team so much deeper than it has been in past years. When you look at a rookie coming in who's playing at this level, I think the United States hasn't really had that as much recently. And so I think that especially because she's so hot right now. Like she's been playing so well in the last few weeks. There's no weakness in her game. When her putter is on, it's as good as anyone. When her ball striking is on, it's some of the best in the world. And then Allison Lee, she broke the record for the longest time between two Solheim Cup appearances, 9 years. And she was in one of the press conferences today, and she seemed just so comfortable. She kind of talked about how last time she was just a kid, she was a teenager. She really didn't know any of the other players she was talking about. Now she's on a team with a lot of friends. It seems like she's really, really comfortable, really, really excited to get after it. Even though she's not technically a Solheim Cup rookie, it almost feels like this is her first real experience with the Solheim Cup, where she's just a part of the team and everybody's kind of gelled together. And so I think that that'll be good too. And when Allison Lee plays well, she's really strong. I think she's somebody you can pair with a lot of different people. You talk about she's really close friends with Nelly. She's really close friends with Megan Kang. So I think that they can use that kind of creatively and get her in there in good spots.
And I wanted to ask you as well about just from last year. I mean, it's been a tough couple of years for the United States. Last year they tied Europe with a tie. That Europe retains the um, Solheim Cup. So three straight Solheim Cups for Europe. And Max, just what do you think that the United States and which players in particular do you think need to step up this year if the United States is going to break this losing skid?
Well, I think the obvious one is Lilia Vu needs to play better. Lilia Vu is, if not the best player on the United States on paper, a close second. Every single time Lilia Vu plays in a stroke play event, she plays really well, it seems like. And last year she went 1-3. I think she needs to improve on that. I think she will improve on that. I feel really, really solid about Lilia Vu's week this week. A player that I feel a little bit less solid out of, and I think really has something to prove, is Rose Zhang. Rose Zhang went 0-2-1 last time out. She was kind of vaulted as the future of the United States team, rightfully so. She's a fantastic player, only 21 years old. But I do think she needs a lot better week. I don't have a ton of confidence in her because I don't think she's always been the best match play player, even when you look at some of her college results at times. And so she wasn't as dominant as she should have been in match play formats. So I do think we need to see a little something out of Rose Zhang. I think she can pull it out. She's such a composed player. This time, I think the home course benefits a player like her. Having to go in at the age of 20 with that big target on her back last year in Europe was a big ask. So I think she needs to play better. Then two players who I do think will play better, Jennifer Kupcho and Allie Ewing. I expect them to be paired together because they've played really, really well when paired together in the past. I think of the Dow Championship this year where they came in second place together. And Stacey Lewis kind of said that one of the main reasons she picked Jennifer Kupcho was to pair her with Allie Ewing. And so Kupcho went 0-2-1 last time, but she's played well in the Solheim Cup in the past. 2021, she was one of the better players. I expect her to get back to that form this year. And Allie Ewing has always struggled in the Solheim Cup. She's never had a winning record in any of her 3 appearances. I think that might change this week because of the pairing with Jennifer Kupcho. And
You
then
mentioned
one final one who I'd like to see a little bit more out of is Andrea Lee. I also don't know what her ceiling is. She went 1-2-1 last year, which I think was a fine performance. I think it's a little bit better than it looked on paper. I'm not saying she needs to improve, but getting an extra half point out of her would be nice.
you mentioned Allie Ewing, you mentioned Rose Zhang. Um, which players do you see other than them maybe that and you said that you could see Ewing having a better performance this year, but which players do you kind of see on the United States being kind of weak links here? We kind of went over this with the European team last week, but yeah, just which players do you think might be weak links for the United States?
I think if I had to pick one, and I hate to do it, but I think that Andrea Lee might have the lowest upside. I don't think she'll be the lowest scorer on the United States this week, but I think she has the least chance to be the highest scorer, if that makes sense. I think that she can pull out a couple halves or maybe a full points, but if I'm talking about my confidence in players, she wouldn't be toward the top of the United States. Rose Zhang again is one that I just need to see something out of her, and I think she can do it. I mean, she's proven at every stage that she's ahead of the game. And I think she just needs to do it here in the Solheim Cup, and I think she's up to the pressure. So, but those would be the two that I kind of have some question marks around. Yeah, Allison Lee, I'd like to see something out of also, but I wouldn't consider her a weak link.
And obviously, let's take Nelly Korda out of the equation here. uh, what players do you really like this week, other than Nelly Korda?
Yeah, as you said, Nelly Korda is the best player on this team. I expect her to be the best player on this team. She's an underrated Solheim Cup performer because she's been on 3 losing teams, but she's been very good in all 3 of them. So taking that out of it, Megan Kang is someone who I really have a lot of expectations for. It's such a cliche, but it goes beyond the golf course with her. I think she gets all the other players really pumped up. I think she brings the best out of other players because she is such a positive force. And she was great last time, almost non-debatably the United States MVP. She went 3-0-1. I expect that to continue, even though she hasn't had the strongest season. I just have a lot of confidence in Megan Kang. Lexi is somebody who I have a lot of confidence in also. She played really well in the Solheim Cup last year. She got a lot of criticism for making the team last year because she was playing so poorly throughout the year that people didn't think she deserved it, even though she qualified on points. And she kind of shut them up going 3-1. I think that'll continue this year. She's been in better form. Her putter keeps getting better. I think that we could see Lexi, especially if she's paired with someone like Megan Kang, who I think brought the best out of her last year. I think we'll see Lexi play really well. And then finally, Allison Corpuz just kind of quietly went about her business last year, as she usually does. She's not the flashiest player. She's not the most kind of energetic player necessarily, but she went out and had a really good Solheim Cup paired with Nelly Korda specifically. They won 2 matches together. I think we'll see that pairing again, and I think we should. And I think Corpuz will have another good Solheim Cup.
And I want to circle back to Lexi Thompson. I just want a little tangent here, a little take here. I think she's been an overly criticized player throughout her
Absolutely,
career.
100%.
I think you would agree with me there.
Yeah, 100%. I think it a lot of, there's been some prominent golf outlets that have really criticized like her demeanor on the course, which I don't get really, because every player talks about how great of a person she is, how great she is with the fans, how great she is with the sponsors, with the marshals, with everybody involved. And I think that she's gotten way too much criticism over her career, and I think it won't age well in a few years when we really reevaluate and look back on her career. Has it been as successful as it maybe should have been? Probably not. Has she lost some tournaments she probably should have won? Absolutely. But she's really changed women's golf. Like when you think about before the Nelly Kordas of now, who are really taking it to the next level in terms of viewership, she was the big star on the LPGA tour. And so this will probably be her final Solheim Cup. And it would be, I'm objective. I'm not, diving into whatever, but it would be nice to see her have a good moment in her last Solheim Cup.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that, I mean, she's had a very good career. And I also think that maybe some of the criticism might have, led to maybe the early retirement here or the,
I,
you
I
know,
think it's possible.
the
And
some of the struggles she's had.
And I want to be fair and I want to be clear. She's had some unsavory run ins with media. And so I can sometimes understand that there's been some pushback from some media members against her. But I think the criticism has been so extreme. And I think the criticism against her has been some of the reason for maybe that some of those media incidents.
Yeah. And all right, now let's shift here. How do you to just kind of the overall preview here? Just how do you think these two teams stack up? Who has the edge?
It's experience versus capability. Now, that's not to say that the Europeans aren't incredibly capable, because they are. And that's not to say that the United States isn't somewhat experienced, because this is one of the more experienced United States teams we've seen. But I think what it comes down to is, if the Europeans win, it's going to be because of their experience and because they know how to play in the Solheim Cup. They gel really well together. The chemistry is there, and they go out and put together an overachieving performance. Now, we've talked about how the United States sometimes gets criticized, again, I think unfairly, for maybe not caring about this as much as the Europeans. The sense that I got today from the press conference with Megan King, Nelly Korda, and Allison Lee, this team's hungry. This team really, really wants to win. I think it sits really bad with them how it ended last year. Look, we all kind of agree that the Solheim Cup format needs to change. You shouldn't be able to tie. Imagine if in the Super Bowl, two teams tied and they're just like, oh, okay, well, the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last year, so we'll just give it to them this year because it's a tie. It's kind of ridiculous that they can tie. I wish they kind of have gotten that changed, and I do hope they change it. But I think that's hit really hard with the United States. And so I think we're going to see a hungry, motivated team. They kept on talking about unfinished business. They thought that they played the better Solheim Cup last time. I kind of agree with them. I thought if you had to pick one of the two teams that played better, I'd give the slight edge to the United States. And I think we're really going to see a fiery, fiery United States team.
All right, what matchups are you super excited for?
So I really want to see, me, I love the drama. So I
Mhm.
really want to see at some point Emily Pedersen matched up against Rose Zhang. Rose Zhang's caddy, Ollie Brett, notably former caddy of Danielle Kang, in a relationship with Emily Pedersen. So I'd like to see those two kind of go after each other. I'd love to see that. We've seen that before with Nelly's caddy, who's married to Caroline Masson. They played against each other in 2019 in a match. I'd like to see that kind of thing return this year. I'd love to see Lilia Vu versus Charlie Hall on Sunday. They've had some great battles. I think specifically about the Open last year, but in the Open this year, they kind of went head to head a lot too. So I'd love, two great putters, two good ball strikers. Like I'd love to see those two play against each other. Ewing and Kupcho versus Leona and Nordquist. Now, Kupcho and Leona have a little bit of a rivalry dating back to when they're both at North Carolina schools, Wake Forest and Duke. They're two of the best players in the country. And Leona and Nordquist have paired up together in the past, and Ewing and Kupcho we obviously expect to see. And you're talking about a way to get Ewing and Kupcho back kind of in the rhythm and on top would be playing a great match against Leona, who's Europe's best player, and Nordquist, who's their most experienced player. And then I think the best possible matchup we can see in the first 2 days is Nelly and Allison Corpuz against Saganda and Lynn Grant. I think those two pairings were both really strong last time out. And I think they're kind of the two best pairings that these two teams have. So I would love to see that matchup go at some point. I know Saganda and Grant played mostly in 4-ball together, while Nelly and Corpuz played in 4-sums together. But I'd still like to see that crossover happen where they play against each other.
Oh, real quick, I wanted to shout out Jordan Davis concert on Thursday of
I
this.
don't know who that is, but
Well, I do. I've seen him twice. He's a country music artist. I saw him this year open up for Luke Combs, and I saw him open up for Josh Turner back in the day, like 6 years ago. And yeah, he's good. He's fun. I'm glad that there's some. He's a relatively big star in the country music landscape, so I'm happy that they have some other outside fun stuff going on as well for this. But yeah, this will be on Golf Channel on Friday. It'll be on Golf and NBC on Saturday, and then Golf and NBC on Sunday. Max, Who do you got? What's your score prediction? I'll give mine after you go, but I want you to go first.
So I do indeed have the United States ending the streak. It's time. It's been enough. You've got players who have never won it, who have played in 2, 3 Solheim Cups. I think enough's enough. I think this team feels really focused, really energized. I think they're really motivated to go out and win and represent their country in the nation's capital. I have the United States winning 15 and a half to 12 and a half. I think the United States, kind of like last year, will get out to a big lead. Then I think the Europeans will crawl back in it. And I think it'll be close on Sunday, but I think by the time we reach those, sixth, seventh, eighth matches on Sunday, we're going to start to see them pull away. So I have 15 and a half to 12 and a half United States wins.
All right. It's basically the nation's capital in Virginia. It's right after 9/11. You got a hungry United States team. I think that it's going to be close, but I'm going to say 15-13 US is going to win.
Yep, I think that's a great pick. Obviously, we're very close on that. And look, the elephant in the room, you can hear by our accents, we're not from Europe, but I do genuinely think that the United States will win this. And I think you do as well.
Yes, I do. But I will step back a little bit from being unbiased here and say I do want the United States to win because I am from the United States. I'm from the state of Virginia, actually. Yes. So it would be extra cool for me to see the United States win on, my home turf, basically. All right. Well, that will do it for this week's edition. Make sure to follow all of Max's coverage this week. Fore-All.com. That's FORE-all.com. He'll have all of the Solheim Cup coverage. And is this a new logo I see here, Max?
It is indeed a new logo. Yeah, we've been doing a little work on the site this week, and we've gotten it looking a little different. And so yeah, it's going well.
Yes, very, very cool new logo. So go check that out. I think it's an upgrade, personally. So yes, go check that out and watch some Solheim Cup. Yes, I know it's football season, but there's this thing called a computer, an iPad, a second TV. You can watch both. You can do both. That's what I will be doing myself. So yeah, for Max Bechtoldt, I'm Jesse Morrison, and we will talk to you next week. Recap this Solheim Cup that's coming up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Thanks, everyone, for listening.